so excited to have Rachel on. She is an amazing mindset coach. She does all the things. She's a boss mom. She does fitness. It's like, I just love following you on Instagram. And so I'm so excited to have you here and just get to know you more, because I see your life and it looks very like similar to what mine would look like. And so, yeah, I want you just kind of just share your experience of like, and go into a little bit more deeper, because obviously I've grazed over that you're a coach. So yeah, just expand on that. Like, how are you going out in the world and helping people be a better version of themselves?
Yeah, I was so excited when you reached out to chat because we met in another sort of cohort and immediately I gravitated to your energy. And I love too that we are in very different places in our lives. And I love when I can connect with other women that are doing something totally different than me, but yet our energies kind of align in those ways. And then once I heard what your podcast about, I was like, okay, this is my jam. So, hi, I'm Rachel. Yes, I am a mom. I have 4 young boys. I'm a keynote speaker and mindset and accountability coach. So how I got into this was really by me finding myself failing and being a perfectionist and on my bathroom floor, unable to move, couldn't make decisions, physically ill, and thought there has to be a better way to do this. And so I found it. I had to make some really hard decisions. And I knew that I am the only woman in my household that can show these boys what a woman is and what a mother is. And it's not going to be someone who is hurrying about to take care of everybody else all the time while letting ourselves sink and fall and not live this big, beautiful, crazy life that we want to live. And it's hard. Like living that big, crazy, beautiful life is hard work, so I train high performers on how to take care of themselves. I don't teach about bubble baths. I don't tell people to take a self-care day. I am sort of the anti-self-care movement as it's written in our society. I think that self-care is a basic need. You need to walk through Target alone? Girl, you do that. You need to get a pedicure, basic need. You need a bubble bath, basic need, right? Taking care of ourselves are these habits that we do every day, and leaning into the feelings like grief, like loss, like failure, like success, talking about them and doing the work on ourselves every day to get there. So that's what I teach people how to do. And I'm really along with them, like I will never stand up on a pedestal and pretend that I have it all together, because I don't, but I'll be there with the people and I love what I do now. So, and I don't burn out anymore.
Well, they always say that like the first client is ourselves, right? Like
Yeah.
we get into this because like we see a need within ourselves and like we need that healing. And then we find so much like joy in it. Like you can't help but share it with people when you found something that's working for you, right? Like
Yes.
it's the same thing as sharing like your favorite makeup product or your favorite coffee
Yes.
shop. Like when something brings you joy, you can't contain that within yourself. Like there's no gatekeeping around it. Like I
Right.
think that's such an interesting term too, is like gatekeeping. Like why would you gatekeep anything
Yeah. I
that's
mean,
going to
I
make
feel like it's
everyone
our
else
job.
better?
It's our jobs as human beings, and it's probably especially women, to share that with one another. This is what's working for me. This is what makes me feel amazing. Do you want to feel that way? Because we should do this together kind of aspect. Yeah, I love that.
So when you first got started, so you're on the bathroom floor, like
Yeah.
walk me through that process of like, did you create your own program for yourself, like by just you working it? And then you're like, I got to share this with other people. Like, what did that look like for
Yeah.
you? Like, what was
So
like, that was your like aha moment of like, this
it
shit isn't
was.
working
Mhm.
and I am broken. Like, we got to fix it. And so, what was like kind of your first step?
So I forced myself. So I had just left a company that I had built and left it because it was causing so much burnout and perfection. And I knew for so long in my gut that it wasn't where I need to be. It was no longer my path. It's a massively successful business. It still is without me. And I love that about that company so much. But in my gut, it wasn't for me anymore. And that takes a long time to sort of let yourself believe that. Cause like you can have that little, I had those little feelings, those little whispers, right? And I would just ignore them, because we all ignore those little feelings. And then they started to scream at me. And then finally it got to the point where that, coupled with a loss of a few relationships, leaving that job then, and that's where I found myself on the floor. And so I told myself and my husband, I am not saying yes to anything for 6 months. Now, let's be clear. I have 4 kids. I am the primary caregiver. Well, at the time I was the primary caregiver when I left that position of those children. So obviously there are things and obligations we have as human beings and adults and mothers and women that we have to take care of. But outside of that, I said no to everything. I said no to every opportunity that came in at me, because I think what I learned in that time is that I said yes to a lot of things because it looked good, because it helped me climb a ladder, because it helped me have a great title or show what I was worth. And I had really lost in myself what I was worth. So I knew that I had to figure that out first before I could say yes to the external world anymore. So I took 6 months and I wintered, and I really turned inward. I had no plans of making this a business. Like I had none of that. I had no idea where this was going. And instead of, for example, I was a big runner. So I was a runner. I was doing all these high intensity workouts. And instead, for that 6 months, for example, I moved slower. I made intentional choices with my movement. Then in other ways, I woke up every morning at 5 a.m. and I would write. I didn't have a plan for what I was writing for. I didn't have a book that I was trying to publish. I just sat down. I had no plans of anything really, but every morning waking up at 5, I would do this meditation that I now walk my clients through, and I would write. And these ideas and visions almost just started coming out of my writing. And like, let me be clear, I don't like meditating. I love writing. And now that writing has then turned into a book, but I am not ever I was never one before to be like, and then I meditated and then all these beautiful things happened in my life. Like no, like that doesn't actually happen. And it started to happen because I had decided that I needed so badly to turn inward and release all of the external world.
Dude, I love this so much.
Yeah.
Like,
I know, it's crazy.
I love it.
Yeah, I mean, and after 6 months, it was like, at first I was like, I'm just going to be in this forever. Like, what? How am I going to get out of this? How am I going to get out of this wintering? Am I just going to be like in this state forever? And then all of a sudden, it was like spring. It was like I started being more aware of the opportunities that were coming my way. I was able to let go of expectation of my family, of religion, of society, of perfection. All these things started to just dwindle down because I was so focused on these habits I had created for myself. And now, and that was 4 years ago, now through the loss of a few extremely important people in my life, job changes, my husband was diagnosed with cancer last year. My kids are all like growing up enormously, and that's emotionally taxing. No matter what is going on in my life, I have those habits to ground me. So I don't worry about the world and my little world anymore. And I don't burn out. So that to me immediately was like, this is something other people need to know about.
Yeah,
that this stuff actually works. Yeah, it is. It's not rocket science, like we can all do this. We just have to decide to do the work on ourselves.
Yeah. I always talk a ton of, I call it my daily spiritual practice and what it looks like. And they're my non-negotiables. Like, I don't care who I'm dating. I don't care where I'm at. Like, these are my non-negotiables for how I show up. And like, I still do hair and, dealing with clients, and no, I am not my best. And knowing like having those firm boundaries, because boundaries aren't for other people. They're for us to maintain our peace. That like, this is our this is my boundary. Like, I don't work until after 11.
Yep.
And like, if
Yep.
that's not a good fit for you, that's okay. But
And
like,
that's,
this is
yep.
my non-negotiable because I have this morning routine that sets the tone for the rest of my day. And I'll sometimes, I don't know if you do this. Do you ever like, I'll like skip all of it just
Yeah.
to see like,
Yeah.
I just want to see like,
Oh yeah,
like
no,
test it on myself
not
and see
good.
how my day ends up. And I
Uh-uh.
am like a chaotic,
No, I'm
stressful
angry. Yes.
beast.
I'm annoyed. Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I agree with you. And I have to say, as an outsider to your world, watching you on social media and the little I know about your life, even just hearing that, what I hear is like you having those non-negotiables in your life, and it it shows in your confidence. It shows in the confidence you have in your body, in your business, in the way that you run your life. So it is not just for it's not just to get us through the day.
Yeah.
It
And
is
it's
to
not like
help us
just this like woo
live.
woo thing.
Yeah, it's help us to live our lives. And that is what I look out at women when I see a woman walking around, especially mother, because those are, mother with younger children, where I was like, oh my God, I was there and I was dying too. All I see is their beauty and their power. And all I want is for them to see their beauty and their own power.
Amen.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's
That's
hard.
huge.
It's
Well,
hard because we're all
yeah.
lost and busy,
Yeah. And like you get like caught up in all the like things. Like when you like my whole thing this year has been to like slow down. Like I was noticing I would like drink a cup of coffee and I was like literally just like chugging it so I could go to the gym. And I was
Yeah.
like, this is something I enjoy. And I'm like, I don't
Yes.
got time for this. Like, and it's
That's such
like,
a good reminder.
how, but like slowing down to actually enjoy it. Like, so what? I'm a few minutes later to something. Like, I can, there, I'm sure I put a bunch of shit on my to do list that isn't that important that I could,
Yeah.
like, are things that, so I agree with you. Like, being able to slow down and actually enjoy like life and being in the presence of stuff. And I can see that because I used to be a nanny too for a lot of parents, like before I ever got into hair and
Yeah.
whatever. But I could see just the running around, like,
Yeah.
and just being scattered. Like, that's not a way to live. And we've made it really socially acceptable for women. Like,
Yes.
if you're not doing this and you're not
Yes.
showing up and being
Yes.
busy and
Mhm.
posting all the that you're doing all day long on Instagram, like, oh, you're just a lazy piece of
Yeah.
yeah.
that has
And it's like,
nothing to do
that's
with,
not true at
that has
all.
nothing to, yeah, that is, and that I think is, that is far more than just mothers. That is all
Well,
women.
yeah, that's
If you are
everyone.
not here in your career yet, why not? If you have changed your mind and decided to do something else, why? And we need to start releasing that expectation that there is one ladder to climb. And if you don't climb it, then you don't get to have this big, beautiful life. Right?
Yeah. And normalizing being able to reinvent yourself. You're allowed to
Mm.
reinvent yourself. You're allowed to look at something and go, this no longer serves me.
Yeah.
Or I can't show up in this way for this. Like, and stops fitting like a square peg in a round hole, like all the time.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay to reinvent yourself. It's okay to be like, hey, I had this career and they gave it my all and I just don't like it.
I think
Like,
it's more
and
than
to switch
okay.
to something else.
I think it's normal. When we
Yeah.
talk about grief and loss, like one of the big things that happen is we change forever. And I look back at myself when I was in my early 20s, I'm like, I am actually not that person anymore. So why would I be in the same career, have the same goals? Maybe some of the things have still stayed the same in terms of my goals or like where I see my future, but I'm not the same person. So my method for getting there is probably going to be very different. And that it needs to be normalized.
That's huge. So with your clients, so you never like really anticipated making this your like basically it's your lifestyle and then making it into a career. What have you seen come out of it in that way? Like how like did you actively market it? Like were women just drawn to you because you had a switch in you and they wanted to know what that change like what made that happen?
I think one of the things that I did that was the best thing for my business is I started telling my story. In a way that felt not I was first here and then now look at me up there, but I was here and now I'm trying to get someplace else.
The
Right?
climb.
Yeah, the climb. And I think that, I think we're getting better at doing that. And we're getting better as a community and society of women at sharing that sort of middleness. But I think that's what really draws people to my work. I'm also like, I'm very action based, and like, I don't take a lot of bullshit. So let's do it. Like, if you want, like, let's get this done. Like, if you want to do this, then let's change your life. I want you to feel good. I want you to want to feel good. And I think that makes a big difference. A normal person trying to help other normal people.
Yeah. Well, it's like you said, like you see the greatness and you see the power inside of someone. You're
Yeah.
literally just opening them up to be able to see it in themselves. And
Yep.
sometimes we need a cheerleader along the way.
I have 10 habits that I run through in a course that I run. And these are the 10 habits. And what we think is that we have to make these monumental shifts to change our life, but we have to do these 10 things that are small things every day to then change our lives in a big way.
100%.
Yeah.
I always say, like, you're not trying to do the most, you're trying to do the least.
Yeah.
Like, I want to do the least.
Oh, I love
Like,
that. Yes.
right? Like, it's everyone like makes stuff. Like when my dad died, I made all these changes, but I didn't make them all at once. I just
Yeah.
was like, whatever way
Yeah.
I'm thinking was unhealthy. So I just made the opposite choice.
Mhm.
So if I naturally wanted to do this, I was like, nope, that's not good for me. I did the opposite.
Yeah.
And it was just like small tweaks and then building on them. Like, it doesn't have to be so much. And then when you're operating from that higher level, and I'm sure you've like experienced that with your clients, like with the 10 habits, that they're like, it's just easier to show up.
Yep. It is, because it becomes a part of who you are now.
Mm-hmm.
So again, those 10 habits are non-negotiables, period. And you can make them. I also like to make it very clear that this is not my way. This is actually me providing you the tools and the strategies and the ideas, but my teams are prompted to create their own way. And I want to, that's a big differentiator in the way I run my business, because I will offer you, if you say, can you tell me exactly what you do and exactly how to do it? And I'm just going to do that, because some people don't want to know, they just want to do. And I'm like, great, love that. But I also want people to feel deeper, because that is what is going to connect them to themselves for the rest of their lives. I don't want them to be connected to me for the rest of their lives. Like, you take my course once, like, you're done. That's not going to just help you today. That's going to help you in 20 years.
Yeah. You're like, I want you to be able to hear yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Do you feel like I mean, obviously I already know kind of the answer to this because I've experienced it, but through your daily practice that you've made for yourself, when you first quit your job, you said that you could it was whispering to you. Do your whispers feel like you can audibly hear them louder now because of that?
Mine are come through nature and come through, especially they're louder in hard times for me. But I think that's now because I know how to listen to them, because I have been practicing this. So if someone who has not been practicing these habits goes and stands outside in their grass and closes their eyes, they might be like, I hear the dump truck and I hear, the to-do list running through my head. And I'm like, okay, let's back it up a little bit. Right. But now they're louder, and I also don't question them.
Yeah.
Even when they feel totally insane and crazy. I don't really question it. I lean into that. I always tell people that as a society, we think too much. What we need
100%.
What we need to be doing is feeling and then doing. You can think later. If you have this big, great idea that feels really good in your gut, do it. And then think about all the logistics later on, because there will be, and you will need to think about that stuff, whether it's building a business, starting a relationship, whatever it is. But if your gut is telling you to do something, do it.
Yeah.
And that's where you start.
Yeah. I've noticed that with like clients and myself, like they rationalize everything.
Yes.
And it's the rationalizing that's holding you.
That kills them.
Like, yeah, it's holding you hostage. It's holding you hostage against the traumas that have happened to you. It's holding you hostage against trying to rationalize someone being an. It's okay. You can be like, they're an. But like, You can't do anything about it. What can you change about yourself? But when you're rationalizing everything, it's almost like you're re-energizing everything in your life, and then you're stuck. Like, just take action. Like, if someone, like, don't rationalize someone treating you bad, like
Right.
they treating you bad, like they're not your friend.
Right.
Don't have,
Period.
don't have them in your life.
Move along. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's I don't have time. I'm going to wait until this happens to apply for this next job. I'm going to wait until I have to wait until this. I have to wait until that. And I understand that there are financial situations in all of our lives. And I understand that there are a lot more people involved when you are running a household, or you're taking care of an elderly parent, or whatever the case might be. But those to me are still excuses for not following your gut. I'm sorry, but you just can't. If you want to become a scuba diver and you are a father of 3 kids and you live in the Midwest, and so that feels impossible, but that is all you want to do in your life, you can get your scuba diving license every weekend at a local place in your Midwest town, and someday work toward moving your family to Hawaii and being a scuba diving instructor. I mean, like that, great. If that's what you want to do for your life, do something to get there. Stop talking about it. Stop thinking about it, and take some action on it.
Oh, 100%. I love this. I love it. Because it's like,
this
I
is
also
what
really
you do,
believe,
actually.
yeah, well, I really do believe, like, we are we all have a calling on our lives, and it's all divine. And all of our callings on our lives and ideas that we have, they're specific to us. Like, I have never had a dream of being a scuba diving instructor. It's a very unique thing. Like, I've never had a dream of, being a coach, how you're a coach. Like, we're all coaches in different ways, but that's divine and unique to you. But if you didn't follow that passion, like, look at how many people wouldn't be able to be helped. And not only that, if you didn't follow that, like, it's wild to me that people don't do it, because it's like, if you can imagine it, you can fucking succeed at doing it. That's why it's so unique to you. So if you don't do it, think about how the world's missing out, and you're missing out on living like a joyful life and something greater than you could ever have imagined that you
People
built.
are afraid. They don't do it because they're afraid. Even if they don't come out and say, I'm afraid, they're afraid to fail. They're afraid to change, because it is easier to stay stuck than it is to do the work to change your life. That's why.
It's way easier to be basic than it is to be
way easier
great.
To be basic. That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Like, I was telling my friend, Jade, she came over and she was talking to me about something, but I was like, you're meant for greatness. Like, I know that everyone wants to be normal around certain things. Like, for me, I've always wished that I could just be a normal drinker, and I am not. But at the same time, I'm meant for greatness. So if I'm supposed to be great is a very small percentage, then that means I can't be normal, and that's okay.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I'm going to tell my kids that. I'm always like, be weirder. Like, that's who you need to be. And, they're just kind of all in those ages now where everybody else and their opinions matter, like in middle school is rough, dude. So,
but it's all their weird parents ideas. It's not even the kids.
That's true.
It's not even like their original ideas to these 13 years, like 12 to 13. It's your parents' ideas that you're just projecting everywhere.
Yeah. And it's been an interesting ride being a parent in the last 4 years in this world. That's for sure.
How has your parenting changed?
I have no mom guilt, which I love, because I bring my kids into my work. I have one son who loves fashion. And so every time I speak, he helps me pick out what I wear. And whether or not I need him to do that, no, but it involves him in what I'm doing. I have one son that he's my oldest, and I hired him. I give him, whatever, $20 an hour to edit some of whether it's my website or, an article I'm writing or something like that. And so I involve them in as much as I can, and they know what my big goals are. And they're not my reason for doing my work, those are my own, but they're my drive to keep going.
Mhm.
They know every time I get a no, every time someone says, oh, sorry, we don't need any more speakers. Yeah, that stings, but they know it every time, because I think that sharing our failures is just as important as sharing our successes. I'm not supposed to speak there. That other person that got that spot, that's that for them right now in their life. That wasn't actually for me. And the opportunities that are for me will come to me. And you have
Mhm.
to be your heart has to be so open to believing that. Otherwise, you get down as an entrepreneur. You get down every day if you are not
100%.
focused on your goal and you know your worth. Those are the two things that I work on every single day, is knowing my goal and remembering my worth.
And my big one is that nothing is failure. I've
Yeah.
noticed that anytime I've looked back in my life, and I'm sure you have looked at things where you're like, you perceive them as a failure and you've cried over it and and you're like, thank God that didn't
Yeah.
happen. Like,
Yes.
like, and now I look at it as just like opportunities where I'm like, dude, this is cool. Like
Yeah.
being able to switch the focus to like just observing something and being curious and being
Mhm.
like, okay, so this didn't work out. Okay. Like,
Yep.
I'm curious about it. Who did
Yep.
they pick instead of me to speak? Like, I
Yeah.
want to listen to how they speak. Like, what is it? And maybe it's just a totally different topic. And you're like, okay, well,
Yep.
now I get it.
Yeah.
Maybe they
Yeah.
had 17 other speakers that were talking about the same thing
Yeah.
that we were going to talk
Yeah,
about.
exactly.
And they
Totally.
needed some difference. And it had
Absolutely.
nothing to do about us personally. But sometimes,
Yes.
especially as entrepreneurs and especially starting out, you get real sensitive. Like, this is like, oh my gosh, like there's so much freedom into being able to like, for me at least, I love in doing hair, was
Yeah.
loving turn away clients. I was like, you don't treat me well,
Mhm.
you
Yep.
know, like
Yep.
this, I'm not a good fit for you,
Yeah.
like, and
Yes.
being able to confidently do that and not stress about money or what is someone going to say about me, or just being like, no, like this isn't work. Like,
Yep.
and knowing that it's not working. And same thing with relationships and friendships and being like, you're nice, but like we don't have anything in common. So
Mhm.
like,
And that's
I wish you
okay.
the
Right.
best.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
Lesson
time is
release.
limited.
Yep.
So with your kids and they're able to help you, that's such a cool thing that you've created that little community
Ah,
in your home. Do you feel like that well, first off, what does your husband do?
he is in sales. So he runs a
Okay.
sales organization.
Well, I mean, but that's pretty entrepreneurial you too. You kind of
It
are
is.
on
Yeah,
your
he
own
does. Yeah.
in
Oh yeah.
sales.
Hmm.
They
Yep.
just let you fly free.
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
So that's so cool. So do you feel like your kids, by having two parents that are doing that, because you're in
Yeah.
sales as well, because you're an
Yep.
entrepreneur, so you're doing your own sales. Do you feel
Mhm.
like your kids are like kind of gearing towards being entrepreneurs themselves?
I can see some of that. One of my sons already has his plan. He's 11 and he is going to move to France for 2 years to become a chef. And then he's going to come back here and get his business degree at a local college so that he knows how to run a business and be a chef and open a restaurant. So he has got a plan, which I love plans. So that's great. Um, One of my other boys wants to be a statistician for the MLB. Okay, great. And the others right now just want to work like dad. So they're still, my youngest is 5. And
Yeah.
since my husband now is we office both out of the home. So this summer is a trip, man. Um, and that's how we run it, and that's how they see us work. And we talk a lot. The conversation, I think, is more about, because it's always why do you have to work this much, or why are you on your phone? It's a Saturday. Why are you working on a Saturday? I'm like, well, first of all, I can work for 30 minutes before this baseball game starts from my car, because those are the choices that dad and I make, so that when we decide to take you guys on spring break, we can do that then,
Yeah.
because I'm doing these things now. Or we can take a longer vacation because both my husband and I can work from wherever we want. So I think it's having those conversations, because I do get anxiety about, oh my God, I'm on my phone all the time around my preteen kids. Like that's all they see. But bringing them into the conversation, regardless of what industry you're in and regardless of what your job is, you can have some type of conversation with your children, like anything else, any other relationship, whether it's parental or romantic or professional. Communication. That
Yeah.
that has been the biggest game changer for us.
So, and now that they're home from school for summer break, are they able to see you guys like practicing, doing your daily practice in the
Yeah.
morning? And are they kind of taking part in it?
Yeah. I mean, my boys, so one of my non-negotiables is move my body every day. And so oftentimes I have at least one kid joining me in that. I'll work out outside or, whatever it is. And like they're just running by and they're like, oh, can I use, they're like, can I use weights? I'm like, no, you can use like, 2 pounds, whatever. So they'll join me. When we talk about food, that's another non-negotiable, like fuel my body. And I talk about food in the way of, you have you have a doubleheader baseball game tonight. Here are some of the things that you should consider eating today, so you have enough energy for that. You need power, you need muscle, you need focus, so we talk about food in that way. Meditation, we do often when things get a little chaotic around here with 4 boys around the house. So it is a quiet time. It is we have a peaceful space for each of us to sort of take and ground back down to ourselves. When they're really crazy, I send them outside and make them go put their bare feet in the grass and count to like 60 or something. And they come in different children.
I love that because I hear from a lot of parents where they're like, "Oh, I can't do that." I'm like, "Why?"
Yeah. Yeah. Why
Like
not?
if we're like getting these skill sets now as adults that we
Yeah.
wish we had when we were
Yes.
younger,
Yes. That's
why
my
wouldn't
point.
you teach your kids
Yeah.
now?
And it's easier because it's easier for you to do it when you have a little built-in community that it almost forces you to do it. If my kids came home and I was eating McDonald's on my sofa, hadn't left that area all day, still in my pajamas with a mask on my face, they would be like, what's wrong? Like what's going on?
Yeah,
Right?
mom's not okay.
Yeah, mom's not okay. And like, don't get me wrong, there are days that I sit on my sofa and eat peanut butter, and like, that's okay once in a while. But if they saw me all of a sudden not taking care of myself, they'd be the first people to notice and the first people to start to mimic my behavior.
Yeah.
And that's why I won't do it. I won't do it. I won't do that to them. I want
Yeah,
them
you
to
got a
find.
little accountability council.
Yeah, exactly. It's yeah, I like that. They are my little accountability council. Uh-huh.
I honestly, I love watching your Instagram because you do practice what you preach. Like you're out there working out and you got a kid somewhere running
I
around
know.
you at
A
all
dog,
times.
a mailman.
Yeah,
It's a
you're making it
non-negotiable.
work.
Yeah, I mean, it is like you have them too, non-negotiable. I don't care if there are gardeners outside. My husband's always like, Rachel, why are you working out in the living room? There are men working outside. I'm like, I don't care. I'm a 40-year-old woman. If they need to see me working, I'm not like in my bikini working out in my living room. And also, who cares? This is for me. I don't care about any of them. So
Yeah, and even if you were
non-negotiable.
in your bikini, that's for
What?
you anyways, even if you
Yeah,
were in your bikini.
exactly. Exactly.
You
100%.
have work to do. You should be going to
Yeah,
another
yeah.
house soon.
I'm paying you to do that, not this. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Okay, so we were kind of talking about, you told me that you were kind of grieving some stuff and you lost some
Yes.
friends. What was that? If you don't mind talking about it and sharing
Yeah.
about it, what was that
No,
process
of
for
course.
you?
Yeah.
Was it 4 years before your change in your life, or was it during?
So in the last year, I've lost 2 friends, a very close girlfriend and a good friend. Her husband passed away of cancer. And then actually 2 days ago, my grandmother died suddenly.
Oh, I'm so
Um,
sorry.
So I feel like, like I said in the beginning, your energy, when we planned to do this podcast, gosh, was that like maybe 3 weeks ago and it just didn't work out. It was also at that same exact time. I'm like, this is so odd that I have this podcast scheduled to talk about grief and loss. And then here we are again, and so I've been thinking a lot about it, and I am very much an open book. I think that it's important for us to share, just like we said, our hard stuff, because we all have hard stuff. And I'm,
Mhm.
I just, part of my business is showing up as who I am on every day. And I have to do that in my own life. My Gram's a tough one. Yeah. I think we're in shock still. Just because, I mean, she was 87 which is amazing. And she lived this incredible life. But I'm also like, she wasn't sick. So I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
God, you know, like
The suddenness is,
yeah, the suddenness is really raw, I feel like. And I've learned, which I know that you know, and grief is so personal. So like, I really am, you know, I can't, this is definitely just how I feel. I'm definitely not a grief
mhm,
expert, but I feel like grief, people, our society tries to make grief similar to anger at a situation or frustration about a situation or one moment in time you were sad. And grief and loss is like all of those feelings over the rest of your life.
mhm,
And so when we go out into the world and try to fix everyone, right? Like, oh my God, you're sad, let's fix it. Oh my God, you're mad about that, let's fix it. I approach life in my business and my personal life, like, let's try to understand those things. Let's try to go
mhm.
deeper than just putting a band-aid over one situation and then thinking that it's not going to happen or come up again in 6 months. And I think that what makes grief such a powerful experience is that you can't fix it. So for
Yeah.
better or worse, right?
It's kind of like the little, what is that story where the little Dutch boy and there was a hole in the dam or whatever, and he puts his finger in it, and it's like, oh, he's saving the whole town. But it's like that doesn't save the whole town, because now you can't save the whole town that way.
Yeah.
It's like grief.
Yeah.
It's like you try to put your hole in, like a finger in a hole where it's like, oh, it's streaming out here. Like people just like want to shut you up and cover it up, or say like, don't you think like you should be over it by, I've heard that. Don't you shouldn't think you should be over it by now? And I'm like,
Oh, that gives me the shivers.
but at the same time, we've also experienced people where like there's positive parts of grief where you're able to
Yeah.
process it, and you're able to just, acknowledge that your feelings are going to come up at different times, where it is sad, because like grief literally is losing something. So
Yeah.
it's the idea that you've lost something and you're never going to get it back, right? Like that's what grief
Right.
is. But then you've seen people that are just really angry, where they've let grief
Yes. Take
literally
over.
blacken their whole
Yeah.
energy, and that's not something that anyone should be
Right.
either, because
Right.
it's literally, we're making, you know heaven or hell on earth, and we're making hell for ourselves, and
And that
just
is not,
letting it ruminate.
that is not what the person we lost
Oh
would
no.
want us to do. And so I think that has helped me in the two women, my girlfriend and my grandmother, were very close with me. They were both like bulls, just like these lioness women in their lives. And every time I am afraid, oh my God, I'm going to get emotional. Every time I think I'm going to fail, any of those times, I think of them, because they are the ones that are reminding me to do the things that are scary, right? And to show up over and over again for what I think is right, for what they believed what was right. So that helps you get out of those things, out of those negative anger feelings a lot too. And
Yeah.
I also, I mean, in thinking about coming on here and talking with you about all of this, our habits, our non-negotiables that we've been talking about this whole conversation, just because my grandmother was lost 2 days ago, those have not stopped.
Yeah, it's your like life raft to hold you back to who
Yes,
you
it
are.
is. They hold me up. And it's okay if, one or two of them have to fall and I do have to lay on the sofa for a day or a week, but I use those tools to get my ass back up,
Hmm.
because we're still here. We still get to be here.
Yeah.
And I'll be damned if I don't live my best life for those women.
Yeah.
Couldn't.
One of the best, because like obviously Father's Day just happened, and it's always
Yeah.
sad for me.
Oh,
But someone was like, you know what you should do is do something from their bucket list. And I don't know what was on my dad's bucket list, but I definitely know what's on my bucket list and what he wasn't able to experience, like the places he wasn't able to go. And so it's a really cool way of being able to be like, because it's like you have to feel your emotions. Like,
yeah.
I don't care who says anything about it. Like, you have to feel your emotions. And I don't know why we've labeled certain emotions bad or good.
Oh my
Like
God.
why
Me too.
sadness is bad,
Yes. Talk
why
about it all the
anger is
time.
bad.
Yes. Oh my God. Conway.
All of
Yes.
them are neutral. It's
Yes.
all neutral and all of it can be positive. You can
Yep.
be angry and it be a great thing.
Yes. Yes.
It can be an
Oh God, I
amazing
love it.
thing to be sad.
Yep.
So
Mhm.
we need to stop saying that something is bad or good. It is
Yep.
what it is. And emotions make you have personality.
Mhm.
So if you had no emotions, you have no personality. And look at even the highest gurus. They have joy that just emits from them.
Mhm.
Not
Mhm.
that they don't get angry. Their anger span is just probably a lot shorter. They don't let it
Yeah.
last a
Yeah.
day, an hour.
Yes.
It probably is they acknowledge it, see it for a minute, and then
Yep.
go, come back to who they
That's not
are.
for me. Yep. I believe that I am spot on agree with you on the emotion and how they are all neutral. What I tell my kids is it's how we act after
Mhm.
feeling that way that gets certain emotions labeled positive or negative,
Oh,
right? So
yeah.
like angry people may act in a bad way. Happy
Mhm.
people maybe don't, but the emotion itself, everyone gets to feel. So can I ask you what you did on Father's Day? Because that is such an incredible idea.
So I didn't end up doing his bucket list, but when he first passed away, the anniversary of his first death,
Mhm.
I had never traveled the world and I had like gone like to Mexico, but I live in
Okay.
California. So like that's a
Yeah.
very
So
it's
that doesn't
not
really count. Yeah.
Mexico actually doesn't really count to California. It's just, I don't know
Yeah.
who's listening to this in other parts of the world. When you go to Mexico, it's literally not like it's like basically you didn't even leave California. So he had never traveled the world and I'd always wanted to go to Bali. And at that point, I was like a year like clean and sober. And I was like, I was sick of waiting for people to do with. I
Yeah.
was sick of waiting for that friend that needed to get money together to
Oh
do
my God.
something. And I was like, you know what? Like, I have one life to live. I'm going to live it to the fullest. So I booked a round trip ticket. I went there for a month. I never traveled outside by myself ever. Nonetheless, going to like Indonesia, which is
Yeah.
like a communist third
Yeah.
world country.
Yeah.
And I went and I had the most amazing experience. Randomly, the world is a very small place because I knew people that were there. So throughout my trip, like I got to stay at the St. Regis and like their presidential suite with my friend's family. And then at the Ritz Carlton, just like random, amazing, beautiful things. Later, she had a baby the next year. So this trip would have never have happened for her and her family. And they were like, her parents were divorced and their two adult kids. So like even just more random that they
Oh
had
my
this
God. I have the shiver.
co-parenting
I have the shivers
trip.
all over. Like because you followed your gut, you stopped thinking so much about all the things that could go wrong or where you should be or who you should be going with
Mhm.
or what it needed to look like. And you followed your gut and you went. And so we can talk about that in professional settings all the time, but like that is like a life-changing experience. And look at all the beauty that came from that. That's
Well,
so
yeah. And if I had waited, none of that would have happened. Would it all
right.
have been perfection no matter what and outlining how our lives are? 100%. But like that was such a perfect thing. And then my friend Joan was there. I got to see Joan and she was practicing like a massage technique. So she needed a model and happened to be like staying in a villa 5 minutes from me. So I got massages every day for a week. I had a personal trainer friend that was in town at the last part. So it's like by just listening to
Wow.
like just good jump. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't matter how scary it is, just do
Just
it
jump.
because you
Yep.
can do it. Like no
Yep.
matter what, you are safe and you're protected. And you really do, the energy you put out is what you attract. So if
Mhm.
I was going into it, like I'm going to be kidnapped and
Yeah.
sex trafficked and stuff, guarantee I probably would have gotten
Yeah.
myself into that situation because I'm literally, it's like a magnet. Whatever you're putting out is a magnet. But I was like,
Yes.
this is going to be amazing. This is going to be healing. So that's what I did to honor him on the first anniversary of his
Wow.
death. And I took some of his ashes with me. And so he got to come with me and I got to spread some of them. So for this Father's Day, I literally just laid out by the pool. They had down, so I'm in Nashville right now. And
Yeah.
so on Broadway, I live by Tootsie's. Like I live in the heart of Nashville. There was a stage literally outside my apartment. So from my pool, I got to listen to a live rap concert from my pool deck while I'm laying out. That was amazing. And then I went and got I bought brunch for myself because I was like, my dad loves sweets. So I'm like, I got to do something to honor him. So I got French toast and I got a burger. And I started kind of crying when I was sitting at the bar just reading by myself. And then the bartender brings me my check, and my check, she comped me. She only charged me for a soda. And she just said, Happy Father's Day.
Oh, Conway. Wow. That is pretty
So
magical too.
it's so cool that like, and
Yeah.
I'm crying now, not because I'm
Yeah.
like sad, because it's like,
No, it is
that's
so
such a cool
magical.
thing.
It is.
Like,
And like everyone, the people, even that waitress, like that's what we need to be doing for each other in this world. All she did was listen to you for 2 seconds, and she made a decision to make your day a little bit better.
yeah.
And
And then I
oh
ended
my
up
God,
tipping her
that's
the
so
whole cost
magical.
of the meal because
Yeah.
I was going to pay
Yeah.
for it anyways.
Oh,
So it's like, but it's just like those little kindness things. And that's what I
yeah.
always like talk about is like, we can be nice. And I think nice is a very shallow thing. Nice is what the world expects you to show up as.
Yeah.
And we do it to ourselves all the time. We're nice, but we're like, it's a passive aggressive thing to be nice.
Yeah.
Kindness is who you are genuinely without any strings attached. So at that moment, I was like, what's the kindest? There's a lot of things I could be doing. I could have gone downstairs and gone to that rap concert. I could have escaped. I could have done all these things. And I was like, what do I actually want to do? And what's the kindest thing for me? Okay, so I ate a burger and I got to have a few bites of a French toast. Like, and
Yeah.
I took myself out to brunch. Awesome.
Yeah.
And then I ended up going out to dinner again that night with one of my girlfriends. So it was like, what is the kindest thing you can do for yourself? Am I going to eat like that all the time? Of course not. But
No,
like for that day, that was the kindest thing
absolutely.
I could do, to just
And he
be
was,
in the moment and
and he was
honor
probably there
him.
with you the whole time.
Yeah, and I really do. I do believe that, because we all know that we're made up of energy, and energy cannot be destroyed. That's Albert Einstein. That's like a proven
Yep.
fact. So like all, and it's hard because it's like we rationally know that we are not our bodies, and that our who we are is energy, and it's always there. But it's sometimes in those moments you're going to get sad because you're like, okay, I get it. My dad is floating around me, and you get it. Like your grandma's floating around you, but you're like, but it'd be like cool to like get an actual hug from you
Yeah,
right now because I
I
need it,
know.
and that's
Oh,
where that the thing is about loss is like, it's that perceived thing of loss. Well, they're not physically here, but
yeah.
it's like, but they are, and they're still doing so much for us throughout that we don't even know about,
Mhm.
like we have no idea, like no one really has any clue outside of like getting into like the spirituality part of it. No one knows what's beyond
No, no
this.
one knows. Yep. And I think that we have all just we've created a world of hurry that nobody remembers to slow down and listen to those signs for those loved ones that we've lost.
Mhm.
And those little like inklings to turn left instead of right. Oftentimes I'm like, oh, thanks. Yep. Thank you for that. For our loved ones who are still watching out for us and who are still here.
Yeah. I started doing this practice, and this is from one of my friends. She was like, it's called an intuitive walk. So if you're really disconnected, because that's the thing, like when you quit your job, it took you a long time to get there,
Yes.
right? Because we don't want to listen to our intuition. We don't want to, we rationalize everything like, well, but like we do the spreadsheet thing. We're like, but this looks great, but
Yes.
it feels terrible.
Yeah.
But like, I guess I just need to, and sometimes we do need to switch up our feelings so we're projecting onto something like
Yep.
something that doesn't exist. But most of the time, if there's a whisper of like, this isn't where you're supposed to be, like we just keep not listening to it. So I came up with these little practices on like, how can you get in touch with your intuition? So I always tell my clients, like, what's the worst thing that happens? You listen to it. Even if it goes wrong, it was probably the right thing for you. Like just lean into when you
Yeah.
hear something, just start doing it in even the smallest ways. So I started doing intuitive walks where I would just like walk, and you can do it based on which direction the wind's blowing and then which
Okay.
light turns green as you're walking. And just an easy thing, listen to a podcast and just cruise
Oh my
and
God.
see where it takes
I'm
you.
gonna do that.
Yeah, and it's a cool thing. You could do it with your boys,
Yeah.
because
Oh
and
my
just be
gosh.
like, okay, and that helps you get connected with like, what is it that you feel? What is it that you smell? Like, does it smell good that way? Okay, let's go down
Let's
that
go
way
that
because it
way.
smells good. And just
Yeah.
like getting it it's like such a simple, silly thing, but it's like so powerful to get into touch with that. Like even just laying out when I was listening to that concert, like, what is it that I actually want to do? There's a lot of
Mhm.
shoulds that we all have in life,
Yes.
but what is
Yep.
it that you really want to do that's really going to nurture you today?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
then do that.
And then do it. And there will be a reason why you did that, you know?
Yeah. And
And
even like your spiritual practice too, that you take the time to like
yep.
listen to yourself.
Yep. I mean, it's not more than, I mean, I love the intuitive walk and I'm definitely going to try that with my kids. But even, every morning it's like 5 minutes, because again, like I'm not a big meditator. I for sure, maybe one day in my life will do like a whole 30-minute everyday situation. That is not realistic for my life right now. I don't like to say, I will never say that I'm too busy because I don't believe that we are too busy for the things that we want,
Hmm.
right? If you're too busy, then cut something out you don't want. Okay, great. Now all of a sudden, poof, you've got space. But for
Facts.
me,
Cut something else out that you don't
exactly,
want.
exactly. For me, I don't want to meditate for 30 minutes. So I only
And
do it
that's
for 5.
fine.
I know. I'm trying to like be okay with that. But I also know
No,
that if
in
I
the
don't
spiritual
do it for,
community, they make you feel so bad. They're
I
like,
know.
if you're doing a guided meditation, you're not even meditating. I'm like, you know what? Everyone's got to start somewhere, Becca.
Well, and not only that, I like, oh my God, I read this article in the Wall Street Journal last week and it was talking about optimal health. And I was like, great, love it. Let's read this article. It's like optimal health. This gentleman in Canada works out for an hour of cardio in the morning and an hour of meditation in the afternoon, 2 hours a day. I'm like, this is what's wrong with our world because every normal person who has jobs or kids or parents to take care of and dogs and work are going to look at that and say, well, I can't have optimal health because I can't work out 2 hours a day. And it's not true. It's also not true. I work out 30 minutes a day, maybe 45 if I have time. 30 minutes. Like, give me a break,
Well,
Um,
your it's supposed to make you healthy. Shouldn't make you stressed out.
yes,
That's
right.
counterintuitive. If you piled so much onto your daily spiritual practice or daily routine that it's
Yeah.
stressing you the fuck out because you can't do all of it, then that is like counterintuitive to the whole purpose,
Well,
right?
and the same of like, you can't claim I'm going to do this for 4 weeks. I'm going to work out for 2 hours every day for 4 weeks and then be done because you burnt out because you actually don't have that time and your body can't actually take that on. So then that's actually doing worse things for your body of not staying consistent to these habits that you've created. And then you feel down and stressed about that.
Hmm.
What? Yeah.
Yeah,
Massive.
and that's why I'm like, just do something small, 5 minutes of meditating. That was what I was going
Yep.
to ask you too. How long do you meditate for? Because also when you keep consistently showing up for yourself, you're keeping promises to yourself, which makes you have self-confidence
Right.
because you know that you can fulfill the things that you've told yourself that you want. Because I think sometimes, like I was reading this book and it was like, look at your body as a separate entity of yourself. If it was your friend, how
Mm.
would you talk to your body? And how have you been talking to it? How have you been talking to your mind? How have you been treating these things? And I was like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah. I'm so sorry. Whoops.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I real sorry. I'm a
Yeah.
really shitty friend.
That's funny.
I really apologize. But I started doing that with everything and it made a huge impact. Like even just like grieving my dad, like how have I really been treating this? And I will be honest, like when I started really looking at some of the reasons when I'd be really sad, they were really selfish.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, okay, so I am grieving you, but also they're from and it's okay. You can, and I think that's the
Yeah.
freedom is being able to be like, I selfishly need you right now. And I miss
Yeah.
you because I
Yes.
need
Yeah.
you to like when I have like things that are broken around my house, I'm like,
Oh my God.
hi.
Yes.
Because he was like a
Yes.
handyman. So he would fix everything. And I'd be like, I selfishly am crying and miss you because I need
I
shit
don't think that,
fixed.
I mean, I think
It's not
that
really that selfish, but I mean, it
I was going
is.
to say, I think that that level of selfishness for sure has a place in grief. Because
Yes, and that's why it's
actually,
okay to talk about
it
it.
is. Yeah. I mean, like, and actually, like, I mean, I know it's only been 2 days since my grandmother's passed, but Like I selfishly miss her because I want to see, like, she makes really good scotcheroos. I don't know if you know what they are, but they are Midwest, like peanut butter, Krispy Kreme things, and chocolate. And I'm like, you know what? Who the hell is going to make those? Right. And I'm going to miss watching you do this. And I'm going to miss you showing up at my kids' games. But those are all things that affect me. Like she's fine. She's better. Like she's all good, you know? So like, I think that there is for sure a level of selfishness in every stage of grief. And that,
100%. I was thinking about my dad made the best scrambled eggs. I don't know what he
Oh.
did to scrambled eggs, but same thing where you're like,
Yeah.
I will never be able to remake
Yep.
those. But also it's a cool thing if you can like reframe it into even with your kids being like, okay, we're gonna try
Yeah.
to do this and make it like
Yeah.
a thing, like a challenge. Like, okay, family,
See
how
who
do
can
these
do it.
ones taste?
Yeah.
Do they taste good? Oh, what do you think needs to be, like
Yeah, I
make it
love
a
that.
thing. Like we get to like really change how our perception of it all
Yep.
is. And
Yep.
like how can we make it different? Like, give it a different spin and just look at it as like, okay, we're gonna make this fun instead of making it sad,
Yeah,
you
I
know?
do love that. And you know what? And all you did is change your own mind.
Yeah.
Change, like flip the script on how you feel about that particular thing, right? And it
Hmm.
doesn't mean it has to take away the sadness or take away whatever that feeling is. It's just you're choosing to turn off one and turn on something else.
Yeah. Oh man, girl, thank you so much for being vulnerable with me. I did not realize that that happened 2 days ago. That's brutal. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
you are a champion. Like,
I
and
mean, we all have to be, right? And we all
well,
have to be
yeah,
each other too. So thank you.
but that is, I mean, that's just so impressive. And I know that there's a lot of people that listen to this and they always are like, you've just been able to like really normalize something that in our culture we like to just throw away because it doesn't feel good and doesn't, look good. So we don't want to talk about it. And I think it's really cool that you were open to talking about it. And I
Absolutely.
mean, most people shy away from it, and to be able to give people space to hear your story and be able to watch it and see how you're growing and how your family's dealing with it, because obviously I went through something by myself and I don't have kids,
Mhm.
and so being able to like just be, just share your story is amazing. So thank you for being vulnerable with
Yeah,
us.
of course. You're welcome. Thank you.
And I just love all of your things you're doing. I love all of it. So, okay, so how can people find you and do coaching with
Yeah.
you and sign up and do all the things? Do you have any new programs coming up or launches?
So you can do it's the 10 habits to take care of yourself. And I will provide you a link to that. You can find it on my website. I also run group accountability programs that are about 4 weeks long, sometimes 6. And those are awesome because I do them also. So we're kind of in that space together. And you can DM me on Instagram. So follow me on Instagram and you can DM me there for more information about those at any time. And mostly I just like to connect with you first, learn more about you and your goals and see if I'm a right fit for you. And that's about it.
I love that. I love that you aren't trying to just sell yourself. You're like, I want to
Yeah,
see if
it's
I
not for
fit for
me.
you.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is amazing. I feel like a lot more coaches should be doing
No.
that. That's
Yeah.
so amazing. Well, thank you again for being on. Make sure to follow her out. I'm going to put all this stuff in the show notes. And girl, you're killing it. Thank you so much for being vulnerable and open and honest and transparent, and just keep sharing who you are everywhere, because you are such a light to me when I get to watch your Instagram stories and see you on Instagram. So it's so great to connect with you.
Thank you. Love you all. Mwah.
Bye.